What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a really fun one and very nostalgic because we are going back in time through my Sephora orders and we are going to see what my very first Sephora orders consisted of. This video is also completely inspired by Taylor from the Taylor. She recently did this exact video and I thought it was like the best idea ever, and then Samantha Ravindal also recently did it. I just thought it was really fun and just really interesting to see what people's first Sephora orders are, and I really wanted to do it myself. So I will link both of their videos down below in case you want to check them out. I also wanted to put my own little spin on the whole concept. I actually wanted to put my very first Sephora orders on my face. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be going through all of my orders, and then the very first foundation, primer, eyeshadow palette, bronzer, etc., that I find that I still have in my collection, I'm gonna actually put on my face and we'll discuss them. I'll let you guys know what I think of them now. I would absolutely love if you guys could let me know some of your first Sephora orders. I think it would be so much fun to just read what everybody's first actually were. Don't forget to also give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and of course subscribe if you're not subscribed already. So without further ado, I've got my laptop out. I've got all of my Sephora purchases on the screen in front of me. It's slightly disturbing looking back at all my purchases. I've spent a lot of money at Sephora. It's depressing to say the least. By the way, if you're wondering how you could actually see all of your past purchases from Sephora, all you gotta do is just go on your account and there's something called lists in like the little drop down menu, and then once you click list, you're actually able to see all of your purchases, not only the online purchases, but also the in-store purchases, which is like the coolest part. As long as you use your little like Sephora member card, it would be tracked on here up until like the first time that you used it. So go crazy. Go wild and crazy, guys. Thing is, my Sephora VIB card has been around for a really long time. The very first purchase that is on this card is from 2005 when I was 11 years old. Like, can we just let that sink in for a second? Obviously, I wasn't going to Sephora like shopping at 11 years old. My mom had this card and I basically inherited it like around 2011 when I started doing YouTube videos and I was shopping at Sephora a lot more. She gave me her card and then she just got a new one. So the very first purchases on this card are actually from my mom. The very first product that is on here is from January 31st, 2005, and it was ordered off of Sephora.com, and it is the Stila lip glaze in the color grapefruit. I would love if you guys could let me know if you remember these lip glosses. Those were my mom's like favorite lip glosses. I just remember she would buy little sets every holiday season and they would come in a bunch of different colors, and they were like this little twist up thing, and they were so fruity and sticky. Because my mom always had them, I would always steal them from her vanity and use them myself. So just seeing that like brings back so many memories for me, and it's really cool. June 8th, 2011, that's when I took over the card, because that little like shopping list is just a mini YouTube starter pack. In 2011, I feel like that's when my YouTube beauty guru obsession was truly at its like peak. I was so in love with the beauty community. It's what I did every single day after school. Elle and Blair Fowler were like my favorites, and a lot of the products that they recommended I always wanted to purchase. So we have found my very first eyeshadow palette purchase, which is just so cool to see, and I remember this so well. It's the Urban Decay Urban Ammo eyeshadow palette, and it's so funny because I always thought that the Urban Decay Naked palette was my first palette, but it's not. It was this one, and this was a pretty colorful palette. I've said this before in like my other like more nostalgic videos where I talk about my makeup past, but I was always really into color as a young teenager. I love turquoise especially. I would always put either like turquoise eyeshadow or turquoise eyeliner on my lower lash line. It's just like something I always did. So I remember the turquoise in that eyeshadow palette so well because I would always put it on my lower lash line because I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I obviously do not have that palette anymore. It would be disgusting if I did. That would be like seven years old. Although I do have some other really old makeup that I'm gonna be taking out later, but don't have that one anymore, so we're not gonna be able to use it today. But there is a primer in this order that I will be using as my first product in my makeup look, and it's the Benefit Cosmetics, the Professional Face Primer. I honestly remember buying this and not even fully knowing what this product actually did for my skin. All I knew is that the beauty gurus that I watched on YouTube used it and they loved it. So I felt like I needed it as well. And to be honest, this is probably one of my least favorite primers, and it's funny because Taylor actually said the same thing in her video. She doesn't like this as well, but it was one of the first primers that she also bought from Sephora. It's just not a primer that really does anything for my skin. I have a pretty dry skin type, so if I am gonna prime my skin, it's gonna be something a little bit more hydrating, but this is more of a pore filling primer, which I don't really have that issue with my skin. Like, I don't have exceptionally large pores. In that same order, I got the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. The very first time I got the primer potion, that is like the most OG beauty guru hyped it up product. The Urban Decay Primer Potion is still a primer that I really like. I feel like I don't really even use eyeshadow primers that much anymore. I normally just like put concealer all over my lid and just call it a day, but I still think that the Urban Decay Primer Potion is a great one if you are looking for a good primer. I actually wasn't able to find my original one. I was only able to find Fix, which is a white version of the primer. If you're wondering what my favorite version is, it's Eden, and that's the one that has like a little bit of like a yellowy undertone, so it just cancels out all of your darkness and redness and all of that on your eyelids. And then the last product that I got in this order is the NARS Blush in Orgasm. Orgasm is not a blush that I really ever use anymore. This is a much newer version. They completely reformulated it. Definitely since 2011, it's completely different now. I feel like NARS Orgasm was like a really big deal at the time because there weren't a ton of blushes that were on the market that were like that peachy pink with gold shimmer, but now literally every single company has some sort of blush with peachy pink undertones and gold shimmer. So it's nothing too extraordinary or, you know, unique anymore. Orgasm is probably one of my lesser favorite blushes with this finish, only because I feel like the gold in here, even the reformulated one, is still a little bit too intense for my liking, and I just find that it's not the most flattering on my skin. So it's not my favorite blush. So that is my official first order from Sephora. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll through all of my orders, and I'm going to try and go in order of how I actually apply my makeup so that we could actually get makeup on my face. So the very, very first foundation that I ever purchased was on May 2nd, 2012, and I bought the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Oil-Free version in the shade Nude. And I remember this so well because I think it was Elle Fowler who always spoke about the Laura Mercier foundation. I think it was called like the Flawless Silk Foundation, something like that. I don't remember the exact name. And I remember picking up that tinted moisturizer thinking that it was the same foundation that Elle Fowler always spoke about, but it wasn't. But that tinted moisturizer became my favorite face product for the longest time. And it's just so funny that I got the oil-free version because I don't think I even knew what that meant at the time. I always had dry skin, and the oil-free version is meant for people with oily skin, but I just bought it probably because I thought that it was good that it was oil-free. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. However, I do not use this product anymore. I actually recently decluttered it in my foundation declutter video that I did. It's just not a tinted moisturizer that I'm super drawn towards anymore. There's other ones that I much prefer, like the It Cosmetics CC, the YSL All-in-One Glow, the MAC Face and Body. Those are the ones that I use all the time, and the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer is just old news for me. So the next foundation that I actually do have in my collection that I ordered is on July 10th, 2015, and it was the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Invisible Cover Foundation, which I have right over here, and that is what we're going to be using on my face today. Now, this is a foundation that I've had on my collection obviously for a really long time. I used to use this in my makeup artist kit. I would switch between the Makeup Forever HD and the Makeup Forever or MAC Face and Body. I love this foundation because I always found that it was just like a great go-to. It worked with so many different skin types. It was very, very versatile. I could build it up to be a little bit more full coverage. I could sheer it out to be a bit more of like a, you know, like wash of color on the face. This is one of those foundations though that like I will not use for a year, and then I will pick it up just randomly like today, and I will wonder why I ever stopped using it. I almost feel like for me, it's like one of those just like perfect go-to, no fuss, no frills, you know what you're gonna get type of foundation, because it just gives you like the most beautiful natural finish. It's not too matte, it's not too glowy. It has great coverage, it lasts really well, it looks good in photos. Also keep in mind this shade does not match me at all. So we're just gonna blend a little bit down the neck. Now moving on to concealer, another super bougie product for me to purchase. On May 23rd, 2013, I bought the YSL Touche Eclat Radiance Perfecting Pen. Do you guys remember the time when like literally every single person was talking about this product, but they were talking about it not just like it was a good concealer, like this concealer was changing lives. That's how this was like portrayed on YouTube at the time. So it obviously persuaded me enough to buy a $51 under eye brightener, which is just crazy to me. You sort of just gotta know what you're gonna get with this product. This is not going to be like a very full coverage concealer. It's not going to give you a super flawless under eye. Like, this is a concealer that is just going to give you a little bit of brightness underneath your eyes. It's actually really good for mature skin. My mom really loves this product because it's such a thin formula. It's not thick at all. So it sits really, really nicely on the face. But it is a pricier product, and there are very comparable products to this from the drugstore that work just as well. So keep that in mind, but still good. I'm using the shade 2.5, by the way. So the very first powder that I ever bought was on October 21st, 2013, and I got the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for Under Eyes. I actually remember my mom buying this, but us agreeing that we would share the product. And that powder I feel like was not very good. I remember it being very almost like shimmery. So you would put it underneath your eyes and you just have like little tiny shimmers all underneath there. The second powder that I ever purchased was on February 6, 2014, and I got the Laura Mercier Invisible Loose Setting Powder. So when the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder, which is this one right over here, got really, really popular, I had that powder in my collection, and for the longest time, I thought that the Invisible Loose Setting Powder was the same thing as the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. So I would talk about it on my channel as if it was the Translucent Setting Powder, and I would say that I didn't like it, and I didn't understand why it was like so hyped up, because it's just like not really such a great powder, but I was using the wrong powder the whole entire time. No longer have it though in my collection. I do, however, have the oh so famous Translucent Loose Setting Powder from Laura Mercier. Finally, it's the correct one, and I'm gonna use that today. I know it's not technically the first powder that I ever purchased, but it's close enough, and I was using the other one for so long thinking that it was this one. So let's actually use the real deal today. I'm just gonna put this right underneath my eyes. So now moving on to bronzer. Now NARS Laguna was my very first bronzer purchase. On April 20th, 2011, I got NARS Laguna and NARS Orgasm Blush. Not surprising at all, because this was the product that my mom used all the time. So I just bought what I knew, and Laguna was always a product that I was very, very familiar with. It's another product that whenever I take out, I always ask myself like why I don't use it, because it is honestly a really beautiful bronzer. It has a really pretty soft sheen to it. I like that it's not like just a completely matte, flat bronzer. However, there are just other newer bronzers in my life that I have been using so much more. And because this is a product that I've had literally since the beginning, it's just not one that I'm super drawn to anymore, but it is still a really beautiful product. Like, look how nicely it applies and just gives such a pretty bronzy look. Got my NARS Orgasm over here, and I just feel like the gold shimmer is just so unflattering in this. It actually looks really pretty from afar though. Like, it gives the cheeks a little bit of a nice golden sheen, but close up, it's just not, it's not great. Okay, let's actually finish off the face. I wanna see what my first highlighter was. My very first highlighter that I ever purchased was on July 11th, 2014, and can you guess what it is? I mean, this is an obvious one. It's the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in the shade Opal. I feel like Opal was the original highlighter that really got the trend of highlighting started. I mean, obviously highlighting has been around for a really long time. There was never really a time where people would be like, oh my God, look at the highlighter on top of my cheekbones. It's so glowy, it's so amazing. That was never like trending. That was never really a thing up until Becca came out with Opal, and then everything sort of just exploded from there. And it's beautiful. I mean, I feel like Becca just does it so well. All of their highlighters, I feel like, are sort of just like that perfect in between of being really nice and intense, but not unflattering. And it's so funny because you just scroll up just a little bit and you could see when I started getting even more into highlighters. Like on November 6, 2014, I bought 3 highlighters in one visit: the Bobbi Brown Bronze Glow Highlight Powder, the Laura Mercier Shimmer Block, and the Bobbi Brown Shimmer Brick. The very first brow product that I ever purchased was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder Duo in the shade Brunette Dark Brown. I actually think I only just very recently got rid of this brow powder. It was the really old one in the silver packaging, and it was like the only brow product that I used basically up until I got the Brow Wiz, which was a few years later. Again, this was another product that my mom used herself, and that is why I purchased it when it was time for me to purchase my own brow product. I did what my mom did and got the brow powder. And then on May 23rd, 2013, that's when I actually picked up the Brow Wiz, which is a product that I used nonstop for years. The Brow Wiz probably goes down as my most repurchased makeup product ever. I don't even know how many of these I've gone through. I mean, I could literally find out if I really wanted to, but I don't know if I even want to know. The Brow Wiz is a product that I still like. It's not my ultimate favorite brow pencil anymore. I feel like I do prefer the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil a little bit more. Not really for much of a reason other than I just feel like it lasts a little bit better. I just think a lot of other brands have sort of stepped up their game when it comes to brows. So now moving on to the second eyeshadow palette that I ever purchased, because you guys now know that the first one was that Urban Decay Ammo palette, but the second one was the Urban Decay Naked palette, and it was on September 21st, 2012. Do you guys remember my eyeshadow declutter when I said I was finally gonna get rid of my my Naked palette? Well, I couldn't do it. It's still in my collection. It's not even like sitting where all of my other eyeshadow palettes were sitting. It's literally sitting in like my storage space. I physically could not part ways with this palette. It's one of the very first palettes I ever bought, and it's just such a huge part of my own makeup history. Like, it feels weird for me to get rid of it, so I just couldn't do it. Don't judge me. So, I mean, if you were not aware, there's actually a lot going on with the palette right now, because Urban Decay is apparently discontinuing the Naked palette, which is heartbreaking. To be honest with you, I smell a conspiracy. I have a feeling that the palette is gonna be reformulated and they're gonna re-release it. Just like the whole marketing of that Urban Decay Naked funeral campaign was so over the top that there's just no way that it's the end. It just doesn't make sense to me, because this is such a huge part of like eyeshadow history. Before the Naked palette, there wasn't really neutral eyeshadow palettes. Like, this was one of the first. It was a lot of people's like first eyeshadow palettes. By the way, I'm going into Naked. I would love to know your thoughts on that. On my conspiracy theory. I know I tweeted about it, and a lot of you guys were saying that you feel the same, that you feel like it's just a little bit fishy. The one complaint, going into Buck by the way, was that it didn't have enough mattes. So it would be really interesting to see what they would do if they did completely redo the Naked palette, what they would change, what they would keep the same, to sort of keep the same essence of what the Naked palette was all about, but also making it better. Or maybe it's just actually gone and I'm just overthinking it. That's also a high possibility. I'm gonna go into Hustle now. This cannot be good for my eyeballs, by the way, you guys. This palette is literally from 2012. So the amount of bacteria that I'm probably putting on my lids right now is alarming, and I don't want to think too hard about it. This is what I do for you guys. You are welcome. So now let's talk eyeliner. The very first eyeliner that I ever purchased was on October 25th, 2011, and it's a Stila Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner. I have this right over here. This was my go-to liquid eyeliner for the longest time. It was the only liquid eyeliner that I would repurchase over and over and over again, and it was just my favorite. I always felt like it was really easy to apply. It was really black, and it was a precise liquid eyeliner that made doing my wing just a little bit easier, so that's why I liked it. Now the one that I have today is the Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner, but it's the micro tip version, which I actually have been really liking, because it's super teeny tiny and small, so it makes it really easy to be very precise with the wing. On December 10th, 2012, and it's the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. It's the one in like the purple tube. I actually don't have that one anymore, so we're gonna have to move on to the next one. But my next mascara purchase that I'm able to see on here is another Benefit product, and it was on March 14th, 2015, and it's the Benefit Roller Lash. Really great mascara. It was my go-to for a really long time. This is another product that I've repurchased quite a few times. It does a good job of just like separating the lashes and making them look really like feathery and pretty. For me, I feel like mascaras is like one of those products that I just switch out pretty often. I have my favorite for like 6 months, and then I'll move on to another favorite. Pretty cutthroat with my mascaras. Oh my god, right underneath this is one of my first contour products that I ever got, other than the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit, which I believe was my very, very first, although I don't have that one anymore. My second one though was the Marc Jacobs Light Filtering Contour Powder. This is what it looks like right over here. This is the original one because I've never repurchased it, and it still is like actually one of my favorite contour powders. This contour shade is really, really beautiful. The Marc Jacobs powders are just always so nice because they're so easy to blend. I love the way they're formulated. And this is another product that I've sort of like forgotten about, but it was an old favorite, man, for a long time. So the last product that I have to put on my face is of course the lips. And on November 3rd, 2012, I bought another bougie product, the YSL Glossy Lip Stain in the shade Rose Vinyl number 15. When I first started wearing makeup, I really hated the feeling of makeup on my face, including lip products. Like it was very difficult for me to wear anything but a lip balm for more than 30 minutes, because after that point I would just basically want to rip it off my face. But what I really liked about the glossy lip stain colors is that they would give you like a really intense color, but they feel like nothing on the lips. Like they literally just feel like a stain, but they look very intense. I don't have that color anymore in my collection. I remember that being like a purpley pink because that was my go-to lip color for the longest time, but I do have quite a few of them in my collection. I'm gonna put on this bright pink one right over here because I feel like it's the closest one to that number 15 Rose Vinyl, and this is in the shade number 11. It's a type of lip color that goes on like semi-sheer on first application, and then you let it dry for a few seconds and you're able to build it up to be very opaque, and it's so glossy. And then when it fades, it sort of just fades to like a matte stain, so it's super easy to wear. You don't have to worry about it like flaking off or getting all gross. So that's like the sheer application, and now we're gonna build it up. Is this not like the prettiest lip color? Again, why don't I wear these anymore? They're so good. So before I go, I was just quickly scrolling through all of my orders, and I just wanted to say my most memorable order that I have here is from January 21st, 2014 and January 7th, 2014, because it was the time that I actually bought a lot of my stuff for my freelance makeup kit, and I just remember this so well. I remember going to Sephora and being so nervous trying to figure out what I needed for my kit, and one of these Sephora employees was like walking me around the store and helping me out and giving me all of his suggestions because he was a working freelance makeup artist, so he was like giving me all of his tips and all the products that he uses. I got the like Sephora collection smoothing primer and luminous foundation primer for dry skin, for oily skin. I got scissors and eyelash glue and another Anastasia brow wiz. And then on January 7th, I bought so many brushes, and I remember it being so freaking expensive and just having a heart attack. It's just really cool to see how far I've come in the form of Sephora makeup orders. So guys, that's it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it and found it entertaining. I had so much fun going down memory lane with you. Please let me know some of your first Sephora purchases. I think it's gonna be so much fun to see. Do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up, of course, if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.